We are doing lesson 3.4, solving equations using multiplication and division. Our I can statements for today: I can multiply and divide with rational numbers, and I can use equations to solve real-life problems. All right, so solving equations with multiplication and division. Multiplication and division are inverse operations. That means you can use them to cancel each other out. And then the multiplication property of equity and the division property of equity mean you can multiply or divide on both sides of the equation, and it produces an equivalent equation. So the value of the equation stays the same as long as you do it to both sides. All right, so there's an example here for multiplication and an example for division. So here our equation is m divided by 5. Now this does kind of look like a fraction, but remember that fraction bar means division. M divided by 5 equals -2. We cancel out the division with multiplication, multiplying 5 on each side. 5 divided by 5 is 1, so we're left with m. -2 times 5 is -10. And then here we have 22 equals -4x. That -4x means -4 times x. We cancel that out with division. By -4, the sign here that's negative, you're still using that negative because it has to cancel out to be a positive 1. So -4 divided by -4 is +1. And then 22 divided by -4 is -5.5. So let's go ahead and try some problems. Our first one here, it says 7x equals -84. This is multiplication. That means 7 times x. So we cancel out multiplication with division. So we're going to divide on both sides by 7. All right, 7 divided by 7 is 1, so I'm left with x. Here I have -84 divided by +7, different signs, answer's negative. All right, and then depending on the numbers, you might have to do the division off to the side. You might not, depending on just what the problem is. But if you don't know what 84 divided by 7 is, you can write it out this way. 7 goes into 8 once. 8 minus 7 is 1. Bring down the 4. That's a 14. It goes in twice. So our answer here is x equals -12. Just like with our addition subtraction equations, you need to make sure you're reading the directions. If they say to check, you need to write a check. If they don't say check, then you at least need to mentally check. So here our -12 would be our x. 7 times -12 is -84. And yes, that is correct. All right, let's look at this one with decimals. So I have -1 and 1/10 times t equals -1 and 21/100ths. So again, multiplication, we're canceling out with division. We have to use the same number, same sign as what's there. Okay, so -1 and 1/10 divided by 1 and 1/10 is a +1, so I'm left with t. Before I set up my long division, I'm going to move my decimals over one place so that my second number is an integer. So now I have -12.1 divided by -11. And I know a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so I'm going to have a positive answer here. 11 goes into 12 once. 12 minus 11 is 1. We bring down this 1, and we do need to make sure we bring that decimal up. 11 goes into 11 once. Whoops. And we subtract, we get 0. So our answer here is t equals 1 and 1/10. If I put it back in to check, -1 and 1/10 times +1 and 1/10, different signs, answer's negative. 2 decimals in the problem, 2 decimals in the answer. So yes, that's correct. Okay, -15 equals w divided by -2. It doesn't matter if the variable's on the right side or the left side. You're still solving the equations the same way. This is division. We cancel it out with multiplication. So I'm going to write times -2. Off to the sides. Okay. -2 divided by -2 equals +1. So I have +1w. -2 times -15. Negative times a negative is a positive. That's going to be a +30. All right, let's look at our next one here. Word problem. Carla earns 95 cents for every cup of hot chocolate she sells. Write and solve an equation to find out how many cups Carla needs to sell to earn $39.90. Okay, so I have 95 cents. And I'm going to put a C here for my cups of hot cocoa. Every cup is costing the same amount. That's why it's multiplication. And she needs to earn $39.90. Okay, this is multiplication, so we're going to cancel it out with division. We're going to divide over here as well. Okay, 95 hundredths divided by 95 hundredths is a positive 1. Here I need to move the decimal place over 2 places. So now I have whole numbers. I have 3,990 divided by 95. Those are pretty big numbers, so I'm definitely going to need to do the long division on this one. 3,990 divided by 95. Okay, let's see. 95 does not go into 3, does not go into 39, does go into 399, and it's going to go in, I believe, 4 times. Sometimes you have to do a little guess and check, but if I'm imagining this being 100 and 400, it would go 4 times, and this is a little bit less than 100, so that's where that 4 came from. But I am going to do the multiplication off to the side just to make sure that that's right and that I have a correct product to go underneath here. 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times 9 is 36, plus 2 is 38. 380. All right, and then I need to subtract. 9 minus 0 is 9. 9 minus 8 is 1, 0. If you do your subtraction and you see an answer bigger than what you originally had, that means it could go in another time. All right, and then I'm going to put this over here. 95 I know goes into 190 twice. And it goes in evenly. 2 times 95 is 190. And again, if you're not sure, you can always do it off to the side. Okay, so 42 is the answer when I divided. And then I need a label. Cups. All right, let's take a look at solving one that has a fraction in it. So I have negative 4/5 times x equals negative 8. This is multiplication. So I am going to divide. There are actually a couple ways I can show how to cancel out this negative 4/5. So I'm actually going to do this problem 2 ways just to give you some options. But we're going to start with division. This is multiplication. We cancel out by dividing. Negative 4/5. With fraction problems and equations, I like to write them out horizontally. So I'm going to write my divided by 4/5 here. I'm going to make that into an 8/1. All right, anything divided by itself is going to be 1, so that cancels out and leaves me x. Here, with fractions and division, we need to do keep, change, flip. Negative 8/1 times negative 5/4. Up to you if you want to cross cancel. I like to cross cancel. You could also multiply straight across. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. Really, that's a negative 2 because it was a negative 8. And then I can multiply straight across. Negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. 1 times 1 is 1. So my answer there is going to be x equals 10. Now, they didn't ask me to check. I'm going to go ahead and just show you what the check would look like here. Negative 4/5 times 10. I'm going to go ahead and just write it as 10/1. Since fractions need to be shown with 2 parts, can't be a whole number or mixed number, equals negative 8. All right, I use cross canceling here, so I'll multiply straight across on this one. Negative 4 times 10 is negative 40. 5 times 1 is 5. Negative 40 divided by 5 is negative 8. Check. That's right. Okay, so here's one way to do it. The other way is if I realize multiplying by the reciprocal, that multiplying -5/4 is going to cancel out multiplication with a fraction. Multiplication by the reciprocal is going to equal 1. So if I wanted to, I'm going to go back to the original equation, 4/5, -4/5 x equals -8. Instead of taking the time to write the divided by 4/5, -4/5, and then writing the keep change flip, I could have started by just doing the keep change flip and multiplying by the reciprocal right away. It's the same thing, it just saves me the step of writing the division and then rewriting it with multiplication. So the 5's cancel out, the 4's cancel out, the negatives cancel out, and I'm left with x. -8 times -5 is +40. 1 times 4 is 4. 40 over 4 is 10. All right, so here we have 3 more to try. It does say to check your solution, so you need to make sure you write down a check as well. Go ahead and pause the video and try these 3 on your own. All right, let's check our answers. So 2/3 times x. So I am, on this one, I think I'm just going to write the multiplying by the reciprocal part. Times 2, 3/2. Just flipped it over, keep change flip. And in my times 3/2 on this side. Write that as an improper fraction. Okay, my 2's cancel, my 3's cancel. I'm left with x. I'm going to cross cancel here. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and -14 divided by 2 is -7. 3 times -7 is -21. 1 times 1 is 1. So I have x equals -21. It says to check, so I need to do that. I'm going to put in -21 for my x. So -14 equals 2/3 times -21. Since I have fractions, I'm just going to write that as -21 over 1. All right, I did cross canceling here, so I'll just multiply straight across on my check, just to show you, showing that to you both ways. 2 times -21 is -42. 3 times 1 is 3. All right, 42 divided by 3. Let's double check that. 3 goes into 4 once. 4 minus 3 is 1. We bring down the 2. I get 14. Different signs. Answer's negative. Yep, that checks out. All right, let's take a look at this one. So -8/5 b equals 5. This one I multiply by the reciprocal. This one I'll show by the division. It's the same thing. Divided by -8/5 divided by -8/5. Since it's a fraction problem, I do need to make that 5 a 5 over 1. Okay, over here, this cancels out and leaves me with b. I need to do keep change flip. 5 over 1 times -5 over 8. Nothing to cross cancel on this one. 8 and 5 don't have any common factors. 5 times -5 is -25. 1 times 8 is 8. That is an improper fraction. Numerator is greater than the denominator. So I need to make it a mixed number. 8 goes into 25 3 times, with 1 as a remainder. So my answer is going to be -3 and 1/8. Okay, it says to check my solution, so I'm going to go ahead and put it back in. I'm going to put it back in my improper fraction form because I'm going to have to multiply with the decimals. I'm sorry, with the fractions. I'm going to erase this so I have a little room. Okay. So here's my check. -8/5 times -25/8. Okay, equals 5. Now you can't just look at that and put a check mark and say, yep, that's right. You need to actually show the multiplication or show the cross-canceling. You can't just put a check mark. Okay, I do want to cross-cancel on this one because I've got some big numbers here. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 25 divided by 5 is 5. This was negative, so that's negative. 8 divided by 8 is 1. Again, this was a negative, so this is going to be a negative. 8 divided by 8 is 1. Negative 1 times negative 5 is positive 5. 1 times 1 is 1. 5 over 1, yep, that does equal 5. So we solved it correctly. All right, let's look at our last one here. 3/8 h equals negative 9. This one I'll just multiply by the reciprocal times 8 over 3. Saves me that step of writing the division. The 8's cancel, the 3's cancel, I'm left with h. Negative 9 and 3 can both be divided by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. This was negative, so that's negative. Negative 3 times h is negative 24. 1 times 1 is 1. H is negative 24. Let's check. 3/8 times negative 24 over 1 equals negative 9. Let's do the math. So 8 divided by 8 is 1. 24 divided by 8 is 3. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. 1 times 1 is 1. Negative 9 over 1 equals negative 9. All right, let's look at a story problem. The record low temperature in Arizona is 1 6/10 times the low record in Rhode Island. What is the record low temperature in Rhode Island? Okay, so when I have story problems and equations, I have to look for my equal sign. Usually if you see the word is there, that's your equal sign. The record low temperature in Arizona. Got to use the picture to help me find that. That's negative 40. Is 1 6/10 times, that's multiplication, times means multiply, the record low temperature in Rhode Island, and we don't know what that is, so I'm going to call it x. So now I'm just going to write that out in the same order for my equation. Negative 40 equals 1 6/10 times x. And I can write a times sign in there, but I don't have to, because that's what a number right next to a letter means, multiplication. We cancel out multiplication with division, so we're going to divide both sides by 1 6/10. 1 6/10 divided by 1 6/10 is 1, so I'm left with x. Here I've got a decimal, so I'm going to need to move it over. I'm going to need to add a decimal, move it over, put a placeholder 0. So that becomes, I'm going to rewrite it just so it's a little easier to read because it's a little sloppy. It becomes negative 400 divided by 16. I'm going to do that math off to the side. 16 does not go into 4. Does go into 400, or I'm sorry, does go into 40. And let's see, I think that's going to be twice. 2 times 16 is 32. 40 minus 32 is 8. Okay, 16 into 80. So let's see, I'm going to estimate a little bit here. If this was 20 into 80, it would be 4 times. So it's going to be 4 or 5. Let's see if 5 works. 6 times 5 is 30. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 is 8. Okay, so 5 works exactly. 5 times 16 is 80. 0 as a remainder. So I have 25. Different signs, so answer is negative. Don't forget to go back and check your original problem for those signs. And then I need a label. Looks like my label on this one is going to be degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, let's look at this one. Record low temperature in Hawaii is, there's our equals, negative 1500ths times the record low temperature in Alaska. The record low temperature in Hawaii is 12 degrees Fahrenheit. That was this one. Record low in Hawaii at 12. What is the record low temperature in Alaska? That's what we're looking for, Alaska. Here's our equation. 12 equals negative 1500ths times x. Go ahead and pause the video and finish this problem on your own. Okay, let's check our answers. So I have multiplication here. I'm going to need to divide. Two decimals. Let's see. 1500ths divided by 1500ths is a positive 1. All right, I need to move my 2 decimals here. 2 decimals here. Add zeros, so I've got 1,200 divided by negative 15. I'm going to need to do that long division off to the side. 15 does not go into 1, does not go into 12, does go into 120. Let's see, I think it's 8. 5 times 8 is 40. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 4 is 12. Okay, good. I got that right. 120. Don't forget about this extra 0. 15 goes into 0 times, so that's going to be 80. Different signs. Answer's negative. Negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, and our last one here, the variable in a one-step equation is being multiplied by negative 3/4. Describe how to solve the equation for the variable. Take a moment to write down your answer. Okay, let's check our answers. So there are actually 2 ways to do it. You only had to write one, but I'm going to write both. So you could divide both sides by negative 3/4. Or you can multiply by the reciprocal. And the reciprocal negative 3/4 is negative 4/3.